Hello everyone. Nürburgring Sprint Circuit, DTM Free Practice 2, about to get underway. 30 minutes of free practice time for our DTM drivers to try and fettle and sort the setup for qualifying and the races to come across this weekend. Of course, second weekend, we're here at the Nürburgring, but on a completely different circuit. We are on the sprint circuit rather than the GP circuit. 3.629 kilometers the length, 11 turns, 7 left, 7 right, I correct myself, and 4 left. And there you can see the cars lined up ready to get out. Now, René Rast only completed about a third of the free practice session earlier today, led to believe there was an oil leak from the gearbox. So he needs and has less time to sort his setup out for the weekend than all the other drivers, because he was only able to take part in perhaps a third of the session, which saw him further down the order than he would like to be in terms of times. The order was led by Jamie Green, who was quickest, ahead of 2 BMWs, Sheldon van der Linde and Marco Wittmann. That's the way it shaped up. You can see the Rast car ready to jump out of the box, and also just emerging now is the car and the driver that led the free practice session earlier today in terms of times, and that is the number 53 car of Jamie Green. Weather conditions here at the Nürburgring, absolutely spot on perfect. We are blessed with glorious weather, and to be fair, the forecast for the race weekend is for it to remain the same. Where are we? 3 minutes away from the light going green at the end of the pit lane, which sees the cars then line up. And Jamie Green is going to be ahead of the queue once again. Jamie, of course, driving for the same team as René Rast. Audi Sport Team Rosberg. We're on board with Sheldon van der Linde, trundling down the pit lane now. Really pleased to be here at the Nürburgring, scene of so much and great DTM racing over the years, and it all falls silent just for a moment, but it won't be many moments, just over 2 minutes or so before the light goes green and we can get this free practice session underway. In terms of the Drivers' Championship points, being led at the moment by Nico Müller on 205, but being chased hard by Robin Freins, of course, who's had 2 wins this season. 176 points is where he sits at the moment. Followed by René and Loic Duval, and then by Rockenfeller. The best of the BMW, Sheldon van der Linde, who's P6 in the Drivers' Championship at the moment on 72 points. That's the way it looks. And of course, when it comes to qualifying tomorrow, do bear in mind that points are up for grabs in qualifying. If you bank a P1 time, you get 3 points. So not only pole position, but 3 points. P2 is 2 points, and P3 is 1 point to add to the totals that you amass in terms of the races. Nico Müller then in the final stages of preparation ahead of this FP session to come. So Nico making sure belts are tightened, helmet is comfortable, and he will propel the number 51 car around the Nürburgring circuit. This is René Rast, and he has work to do, of course, because he missed out on a big portion of the FP session earlier on today. So René, of course, current DTM champion, a 2-time DTM champion, and top driver, no question about that. He is placed second in the queue behind the leader from the FP session from earlier, Jamie Green. So with 3/4 of a minute before the light goes green, you can expect the noise to accelerate in terms of volume, and the cars will start up and get on their way, and we can get 30 minutes of free practice and track time, and then of course practice starts to come for the drivers as well. Other activities on the track this weekend has meant the track has just been swept ahead of this FP session. Now, FP1, we were spot on in terms of predicting when the light would go green, and it should in 3, 2, 1. Go green now for me, please. Brilliant. So Jamie Green will be the first of those out. lights up the rear tyres and gets the car just a little bit sideways. And here comes René Rast and then Loic Duval and Mike Rockenfeller. Let's get ready. So into turn number 1 is where the first of the runners head. And we're on board with Nico Müller then, awaiting the release from his garage, the AB Sportsline garage, a team headed up by Thomas Biermeier. Nico's...
Okay, we can go.
I was about to say Nico's engineer will be on the radio, Felix Fechner, and he does release Nico Müller, or allow him to be released. We're on board with Robin Freins now.
Go, go, go.
Michael Petty, then Robin Freins, engineer. There's the Robert Kubica car, the number 8 BMW for Robert Kubica. You really run downhill into turn number 1, which is like a hairpin. You come back on yourself. On board the Robin Freins machine then on a high-speed lap from the splitter cam.
Where's Jamie?
So turn 2, here comes turn
Jamie
3.
approaching start-finish. Now on start-finish.
Robin now heading up towards turn number 5, weaving from side to side to drive some temperature into the Hankook tyres. So this sweeping downhill turn 5. Back on the gas again, heading up towards turn number 6, the left-hander. It's turn 7, which is next, and that's where we are now. And from here on in, it's full throttle flat all the way to the chicane.
ALS on, confirm it.
So Robin braking earlier than ordinarily he would do, but that's because he's still on this warm-up lap, bringing the car and everything up to temperature around the final turn, turn 11 at the Nürburgring Sprint circuit. We're on board with Robin Freins. And this now is Jamie Green. Big thanks to the crew for keeping us on board that splitter cam for virtually an entire lap. Brilliant, brilliant work. It's poetry in motion to see the DTM cars weaving from side to side. Lap times we have so far are in the 29s. Trust me, they will be coming down from that. We are still in the phase of getting everything up to temperature before really going for a fly-up. Those that have posted times so far, Jamie Green.
Freins in turn 6 now. Freins and Kubica have a good gap to each other, so I don't expect them to park the car in turn 9, 10.
Jamie 13 seconds behind.
The reason you hear that is because track space is critical. Where the cars are positioned, Robert Kubica is just approaching the final turn now, but here is René Rast into the chicane. Already had a blast through sector 1. See, hard on the brakes as well, because the heat energy produced by braking dissipates out through the rims onto the tyres. Now René goes for a flyer. So ignore the time that you saw on the screen from René Rast. This is the time that is going to count now, or this lap is. He's got plenty of space ahead of him. The next car is ahead of him is Jamie Green. We're on board with Jonathan Aberdeen, the BMW Team RMR driver, who's As you can see, just going through this warm-up phase. Just ahead of the final turn. And he'll try and give it everything he can out of turn 11, because this is going to be a flyer now. Here's Sheldon van der Linde. Philip Eng is looking quicker than anyone through sector 1. Timo Glock goes quickest of all with a 1:27.738. Philip Eng quickly vaults that with a 1:26.967. Jamie Green, though, with a stellar sector 1 and sector 2. Target time 1:26.038, set by Nico Muller just a few seconds ago. Here comes Jamie Green. And across the timing line, he posts a 1:20.412. That is a proper lap. René Rast P2 with a 1:25.75. Here comes Mike Rockenfeller with a good lap too. He's a tenth away from Jamie Green's time, but that gets beaten by Ferdinand Habsburg with a 1:20.334. Sheldon van der Linde, the next we look at now. Someone's run wide at turn 5 as we have a yellow at turn 5, which will compromise anyone starting a hot lap now. Ferdinand Habsburg, a 1:20.334. Fabio Scherer with a 1:20.401. But Philip Eng goes quicker than anyone with a 1:20.515. This is Nico Muller, who now beats that with a 1:20.022. Who is going to be the first into the 1:19s? Will it be Jamie Green? Well, quicker than anyone in sector 1. Personal best in sector 2. We're looking for a time in the 1:19s. Here's Jamie Green, going to break the beam. He does. 1:19.983. Is Mike Rockenfeller going to follow that with a time that puts Jamie Green to P2 in this FP session? Not quite. He's 4 1,000ths away from beating that 1:20 time. So the only driver in the 1:19s is Jamie Green currently, but Nico Muller is having a go. So too is Robin Freins, who we're on board with. Turn 5 is where we're at. Heading up towards turn 6 now. Just taking as much curb as he dares. Nico Muller then. Quick sector 1. Personal best through sector 2. Gets a wobble on through turn 11. And crosses the timing line 4 100ths. Quicker than Jamie Green. We're staying with Robin Freins. This is turn 11 now for Robin. Quick shift. Back on the gas again. And breaks the timing beam to improve 1 place to P5. René Rast, currently P13. What's this lap time gonna say about that? Well, it's an improvement for René, but it's still P4. Now, of course, these are free practice sessions. It's not quali. But even so, it's the pride of being at the top of the chart. And at the moment, that lies with our points championship leader, Nico Muller. This is Philip Eng, BMW star, currently 5th fastest. And the best of the BMW drivers. We had 2 in the top 3 from FP1. And Philip has gone personal best in sector 1 and sector 2. It's a 1:20.029. P4 for Philip Eng, lost time in the final sector. You can see the color bars when we bring the clock up on the drivers. Purple means fastest of anyone. Green means personal best. White means no improvement from a previous best time. Lucas Au and Robert Kubica across the timing line, and the order is Nico Muller, Jamie Green, Mike Rockenfeller, Philip Eng, then it's René Rast, Robin Freins, Fabio Scherer. Here is René. And we're on board with the two-time DTM champion, Marco Wittmann, who's languishing down there in P15 at the moment. But he's posted PBs across every sector and goes 8th fastest now with a 1:23.18. The whole grid from P1 to P16, the whole gamut of the DTM cars covered by less than a second. That's how close and competitive it is in the DTM. This then, Robert Kubica sparking from the front of the car as he heads into the chicane. And Robert is currently 13th fastest as the LED indicators in the window show. A 1:26.39, so just under 7 tenths away from the Nico Muller time of 1:19.943. Back on the bar again as Robert Kubica goes again. Timo Glock has just crossed the timing line and is waving from side to side. His previous time, a 1:24.29, is good enough for P12 in this FP session. Comes Marco Wittmann into the pit lane now, down to the pit lane speed limit. RMG team standing by to receive the Marco Wittmann car. We see René Rast's car being pushed back into the garage of Audi Sport Team Rosberg as Mike Rockenfeller for the local team, of course, Audi Sport Team Phoenix, headquartered literally a few minutes down the road from the Nürburgring. So staying on board with Marco Wittmann, and there is René Rast now, the pad in front of him containing all the data for him to look at and analyse to ascertain where he can find some time to push himself from P5 further up the order. So much data for the drivers and the engineers to study, and great to listen into the conversations that they have with their engineers as well, and proving that being a hugely successful DTM racing driver is, well, as much about the feedback you give to the engineers with regards to how the car is performing and where it's strong and where it's weak and what can be done and what can be changed. That feedback is utterly critical. So Timo Glock next to be backed into the garage, and we have merely one car on the track, and that's the car of Mike Rockenfeller, who is currently 3rd fastest. He posted that 1:20.004 time. Fabio Scherer is also out on track as well now, as is Loic Duval. So here is Mike Rockenfeller, 3rd fastest in this FP session at the moment. We've got just over 16 minutes of the session remaining, and we run the clock on Mike Rockenfeller now through turn 2. Great shot here as Mike Rockenfeller runs wide on the exit of turn 4 and heads up now to turn number 5. Downhill, back on the power. Turn 6 approaches. Has the Loic Duval car ahead of him. Turn 7 now. And absolutely flat all the way to the chicane, which is where we pick up the Audi now as it turns in. Left first of all, then right. Another great shot. So we see the front and the back end of Mike's car as he disappears across the timing line. This is not going to better his previous P3 time. Some 2.5 down on that. Only 2 drivers in the 19s, and was that one Mr. R. Rast coming out of the pit lane we saw there? So the 2 drivers in the 119s, Nico Muller and Jamie Green. So Loic Duval, who's 120.401, gives him P10. My powers of ID were accurate. It is Rene back out again, having studied the data that was presented to him. He will now try and improve upon that 120.111 that has given him that current P5 place in this free practice session. Nico Muller, P1 in the Drivers' Championship points, and P1 in this FP2 session at the moment with a 1:19.943. Robin Freins also out behind the Nico Muller car. Sector 1 is rounded out just on the just after the exit of turn 5, and Nico now at the entry of turn 5, so we'll get a sector time now as he crosses that line, and well, is some way away from where he was, as is Robin Freins, because need to bring everything back up to temperature again following the visit into the garages. Those cars out at the moment in the FP session are Nico Muller and Jamie Green and Mike Rockefeller and René Rast. Philip Eng is on his way out of the pit lane now. We have Robin Freins, Ferdinand Habsburg, Loic Duval, Jonathan Aberdeen, Harrison Newey and Lucas Auer. Thus far, no one improving in terms of times, but wouldn't expect that until a couple of laps into the second part of this FP session. A great shot as well, looking back. Turn 3 now. Then 4, then the run to turn 5, seeing the Nürburgring Sprint circuit from a different perspective, looking from the back of Nico Muller's car. It's looking neat and tidy for Nico, but just almost is millimetrically perfect on the exit of that turn 7, just keeping the wheel out of the gravel. Jonathan Aberdeen we look at now, P14 at the moment with his previous best time of 120.506. Exit of turn 5 now as we go on board with Jonathan. Hard at work inside the car. Left foot braking. Absolutely flat now, all the way to the chicane. 267 kilometers per hour before braking. Second gear turn into third. Fourth before back down the gearbox into the second gear for the exit of turn 11. And across the start-finish line. For Jonathan Aberdeen, who does not improve and stays in that P14 place with a 125.06. shots that we can see are absolutely brilliant. Again, this rear-mounted camera giving us a marvelous viewpoint. Force that's put through the brakes. René Rast making an adjustment to the brake bias there, the percentage of braking force that's put through the front and the rear, which during the course of a race, let alone any quali or practice sessions, as the car changes, because tyre wear, fuel usage, all of those things make a difference to the car's performance, and the car very much evolves during the course of any session. And again, a bit like the free practice session we saw earlier today, no one is improving on the times that were set in the first part of this FP session. On board with René Rast now, the long run along the back of the paddock. So the apex of that turn 8, which isn't really a turn, where top gear is engaged. See the look of concentration and focus on René's face, who's, whilst driving as hard as he possibly can, constantly thinking of where we can make changes and adaptations to the car in terms of setup that will give me an even better machine underneath me. So, as I mentioned, no one improving at all, and we only have 7.5 minutes of this session remaining. On board once again with René. Clear track ahead of him, Sheldon van der Linde behind. This is the turn 5 cut through, which delineates the sprint from the Grand Prix circuit. Just a week ago when the cars were on that track. And just a week ago from this man taking 2 P2s. But not being on the top step of the podium hurts. 2 wins. Both of those came at Lausitzring for René. 1 each in the 2 showings we had at Lausitzring. Someone has kicked some gravel off of the exit of turn 11 all the way across the tarmac, which could potentially hamper someone's efforts. Sheldon van der Linde then. And this is what is fascinating about the DTM. Bear in mind, Sheldon van der Linde with a time of 1:23.18. Beg your pardon, a 1:24.03, 4:03 for Sheldon van der Linde. That currently is fastest for 11th place in the score chart timings, if you like. This morning, or earlier in the free practice session, earlier this afternoon, he was second quickest. And as I say, that's one of the huge fascinations of DTM. Things can change from one session to the next. So atop Sheldon van der Linde's car now as he brakes hard for the left-hander into the chicane, then out the chicane, heading up towards turn number 11 now. And it's turn 11 where someone ran wide earlier and where gravel is distributed nicely across the track. And still there are no improvements. Jamie Green, who had the honor of being the quickest in FP1, is currently second fastest and has, on that lap, not found what he needed to just break into Nico Muller's time, but he's close. He is close. Because the margin between Muller and Green, as you can see, was just 4 100ths, but Jamie's last lap time, a 1:22.142, so absolutely no one improving from their previous times. I rather suspect with just 4 minutes of the session remaining that we're not going to see anything change too much. Therefore, it will be Muller, Green, Rockenfeller, and the best of the BMW is going to be P4 Philipp Eng if everything stays the way it is at the moment. You can see the order on the left-hand side of your screen. Philipp Eng with a 1:20.029. Mike Rockenfeller just 4 1,000ths away from breaking into the 1:19s. And there you can see better where the gravel got distributed from the exit of turn 11. Lucas Auer in the number 22 BMW Bank liveried BMW is currently P16 with a 1:20.743. But again, to reinforce how close it is, 8 tenths across the entire 16 DTM cars. From a 1:19.943 to a 1:20.743. The only two drivers that put it into the 1:19s, Muller and Green. This, the Harrison Newey car. And Harry at the moment is P15 with a 1:20.676. Harrison driving, of course, for the WRT team, headed up by Vincent Voss and Thierry Tassin. Something really attractive about that, the livery across that Harrison Newey car. He's being followed by Robert Kubica, who's 1:20.490. Gives him P13 in this free practice session. And I reiterate that it is an FP session. We've got qualifying to come tomorrow. And of course, race 1 tomorrow afternoon as well. Must join us for qualifying tomorrow. Local time 10:40. That's when the order we see today could change significantly. So the Mike Rockenfeller car, steadfast with that P3 time from earlier of 1:20.004. I think that's going to be altered. All 16 cars out on track. And of course, as soon as the FP session is closed, in 30 seconds from now, it'll be practice starts once again when the cars approach the lighting gantry. As Nico Muller comes into the pit lane. Robin Freins stays out, as does Philipp Eng. Diving in, late move into the pit lane for Timo Glock. And that's it. Checkered flag should be out. Indeed it is. Directly opposite our commentary studio here at the Nürburgring. And that brings the FP part of free practice to a close. And sure enough, things did not change. It's Nico Müller that heads it up. Jamie Green, P2. And P3 for Mike Rockenfeller. Best of the BMWs. Philip Eng with a 1:20.029. It's P4. And there, confirmation, the fastest time. The 1:19.943 from the Abt Sportsline driver Nico Müller. So drivers all in for changes of tyres, ready for the practice starts to come. Heading out of the pit lane now, Marco Wittmann and Mike Rockenfeller, and also Lucas Auer and Sheldon van der Linde. This is when being in the commentary studio that we are is fantastic. So lighting gantry above us, and just to the left of where we sit, so that we can see the cars approaching the lighting gantry, ready for these practice starts. And Nico Müller, beautifully power sliding the car.
Side this time. Yes, right-hand side. Correct, Nico. There are no cars behind you. You can do a realistic race preparation. We go right side.
So realistic race preparation.
So 3, 2, 1, go, 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 stop. Remember, ALL is on.
The cars guided millimetrically perfectly into their grid boxes. Engine no rises, green. Lights go from red to green, and Nico Müller with a surefire start there. He had Fabio Scherer alongside him. Good start, then got a good launch. Did Nico Müller. Next up, Timo Glock, Jamie Green.
Stop, stop.
So Jamie opting to go for the next set of lights. Also going at the same time, Jonathan Aberdeen. It's Mike Rockenfeller lining up just after Loic Duval, who's just got away. And Marco Wittmann. I would have said of those two, Mike's looked perhaps a little better. Harrison Newey now. And away. Into the pit lane for Nico. Lining up now, Ferdinand Habsburg. Sheldon van der Linde, we're on board with. And on the splitter cam then, can we make out the lights from that camera? Oh yes. 3 red lights, engine note rises, 4, 5, let's go. Freins and Eng. Here's Rene. You can hear the car really bogged down as tries to put as much power through as possible. It's all about traction right at the start of the race. And that's what the drivers are practicing. And then approaching the starting box then is Robert Kubica, who will be the last to go, I believe. So the BMW is stopped on the line. The last one to show. 3 lights, 4, 5, and Robert is away. And there we have it. Practice starts, done for all the drivers. Free practice session 2, done for all the drivers. Next installment is the real deal, because qualifying, of course, for the top 3 not only carries critical points, it's the all-important start position as well. Here is the result of FP2. Muller, the top. Jamie Green, P2. Then it was Mike Rockefeller and Philip Eng, the best of the BMW drivers, ahead of Rene Rast. Robin Freins, Fabio Scherer. Then it was Marco Wittmann, Ferdinand Habsburg, Loic Duval, ahead of Sheldon van der Linde, Timo Glock, Robert Kubica, Jonathan Aberdeen, Harrison Newey, and Lucas Auer. And the times from 1:19.943 to 1:20.743. Super slow-mos to the top 3 then for Audi Sport Team Phoenix. Mike Rockefeller, well done, P3 in that FP session. Another good performance from Jamie Green. He delivered P1 in FP1. It's P2 in FP2 for Audi Sport Team Rosberg. But topping the table with a 1:19.943, the AB Sportsline driver and championship leader, Nico Muller. That's it from FP2. Make sure you join us for quali. Bye-bye for now.